Hello and welcome to Ready Steady DIY. Oh, today we're gonna have a lot of organizing fun. I'm gonna take my video game center, which if I'm not careful, looks like this, and I'm gonna make it look like this. If you wanna see how I did it, stick around to the end. So as you know, this is a channel about stuff, how to have a better relationship with your stuff, how to fix stuff you've got, how to buy better stuff. You can't have stuff if you don't organize the stuff. Organizing your stuff is a big part of owning stuff. And nothing needs organizing more than 80s video game systems. Whether or not you like 80s video game systems, they're a pretty good example of something that is totally unruly and hard to organize. Everything is cabled. The console is cabled to the TV. The controllers are cabled to the console. You gotta put your games somewhere too. Let alone like other controllers that do other things. It's a total mess. I don't know why we waited until the new millennium to create wireless stuff. Anyway, I usually dislike IKEA products, but the tool I'm using to organize this stuff is the only thing from IKEA that I own. It is the Ikea Trones shoe cabinet. It is a mid-sized plastic box that is sold in pairs. It is fairly affordable. It comes in black, it comes in white, it comes in some colors. And basically it's two plastic pieces. The brilliance of it is that it's so simple. The front opens, the back screws to the wall. It has the ability to stack. You can put one on top of the other and they slot right into each other. For my purposes, I'm going to use that slot to hold my video games and display them. And they've got holes in the back that are 16 inches apart, which, if you know anything about studs in a wall, is pretty important. They're literally designed to screw right into the studs in your wall. A lot of people use them in their mudroom or laundry room. They're pretty good for organizing stuff like laundry soap or, well, I guess shoes. I use them for tools as well, or materials. They're durable, they're affordable, and they look pretty cool. On my IKEA Trones, I like to put Helvetica lettering. The 2-inch stick-on vinyl kind. Simple, clear, you can see what's in it from a mile away. I think it looks really cool. So I wanted to do a quick video about how I do this, and we'll touch on a few things. How to put on vinyl letters, how to find a stud in a wall in order to properly mount something. But most importantly, we're gonna organize my video games because that is a priority. I mean, look at this. So as you can see, I used these Trones boxes before. I stored towels in them in my bathroom. So what I'm gonna do, these letters are fully recyclable. They're really easy to peel off. You can put them back on the backing that they came with. You can store them away for some other use. So off came the word that was on there before, and a quick wipe with some isopropyl and water, just to make sure there's no residue left over, stickiness, dirtiness, anything like that. And then I could get with relabeling. So the first thing I did to make sure that the letters went on straight was put down a piece of tape. That's gonna be my straight line marker, and it's gonna make sure that all the letters are equally spaced from the bottom of the box. A straight line's pretty important. If I weren't working with individual letters and a sign maker had made me a vinyl decal, they would have the benefit of a computer that could make sure that each letter was lined up to the same bottom point. But I don't have that benefit. Each letter is separate and you can get it wrong. And it looks really weird if you get that wrong. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. There's a dry technique. If you look at the way the word towels was applied before, I really just sort of stuck the labels on. And if they went on crooked, I peeled them off and stuck them back on again. That method, I have come to learn, is somewhat inefficient. I have a new method, a wet method. I'm gonna give that a go. So the wet method is pretty simple. You take a misting bottle, any kind of spray bottle, fill it mostly with water, a few drops of soap or dish detergent, just to give it a little slippery quality. And then you mist over the area where you wanna put the letters, or you mist on the back of the letters where the sticky part is. And then you apply the letter in the order you want. And for a minute or two, that allows you to apply them to the plastic and then sort of slide them around. If the tape is down there, you're gonna get them all lined up right at the bottom, but the distance between the letters you wanna make sure is identical. You wanna make sure no letter goes on crooked. So with a little futzing, I was able to get things perfect. I like this method. It works. It's how people put registration numbers on their boats. So now all the letters were on the boxes and everything was looking good. I had to mount them on the wall. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. Basically, these are going to hold video game accessories and my video game collection. Total weight for each, maybe 10 pounds of load per box. The Trones boxes are really interesting because they have holes on the back that are spread apart by exactly 16 inches. That's the distance that the studs in your wall are likely at. You have to check, but generally 16 inches is the norm. In fact, if you look at a tape measure, you'll see that each foot is marked in black. But on my tape measure here, you can see that each 16-inch distance is marked in red, so that once you find one stud, you can just run the tape measure along the wall and find all the rest of them. So convenient. So how do you find the first stud? Basically, the person who put the drywall onto your wall knew where the stud was because before the drywall was there, he or she could see it. So it's a pretty firm bet that wherever the drywall screws are, there's a stud right there. So just take a magnet, a pretty strong magnet. I'm using a rare earth ball bearing magnet here, and I'm just dragging it along the wall, just sort of scanning left and right, up and down until it goes bonk. That is the sound it made, by the way. And then once the magnet's stuck there, it's likely stuck to a drywall screw, and you've likely found a stud. Does it tell you everything? No, that doesn't tell you everything. A stud in the wall is likely 1.5 inches wide. It's a 2x4. 2x4s are 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And you don't know if the drywall person was having an on day or an off day. Is that screw right in the middle of the stud? Is it barely nicking the stud? So a good stud finder will tell you where the stud begins and where the stud ends. I just got this new stud finder. It's pretty good. Stud finders have trouble because there's other stuff in your wall, remember? There's electrical. You do not want to screw into that. Potentially there's pipes. All kinds of stuff. This is where the good stud finders get separated from the bad ones. Anyway, looking around, I think I found the studs. The way it shook out, it looked like the one on the left for the Atari was going to be able to line up with some studs, but the one on the right for the Famicom was not going to be able to line up with any studs. That meant the one on the right was going to have to rely on some drywall anchors to stay in the wall. I found some drywall anchors that had a 90-pound rating. The ratings really don't mean that much. The ratings really indicate how much gravitational force you can put on the anchor. But in the case of a cabinet structure like a Trones, there's going to be gravity acting on it based on how much weight is inside of it. And there's going to be your hand grabbing and pulling on the front door, excited to play Donkey Kong Jr., adding a different kind of force. So you're definitely not going to put 90 pounds in these just because the anchors say they can take it. In my case, I figured it would be about 10 pounds per box, so I was reasonably confident the anchors would hold. Once I worked out where the holes had to go, it wasn't that hard from there. As far as the one lining up with the studs went, it was a simple case of drilling a pilot hole and then adding a screw and a washer to secure it to the wall. I made sure the washer was pretty big to make sure that the head of the screw didn't slowly work its way through the plastic around the hole over time. The one that didn't have any studs lining up behind it needed the anchors we discussed before. It all comes as a kit. They give you a spade bit to drill into the wall to make sure your hole is just the right size. Then you tap in the anchor and screw the Trones to the wall with the screw provided. And it's all on pretty solidly. And in the end, they look great. I decided to put all accessories into each bin for each game system, extra joysticks, other accessories, any games I'm not using. And the games I'm really proud of, I displayed on the top in the little trough. That way you can see the artwork on them and remind yourself of the games you've got. It looks really cool. Most importantly, it's way more organized than it was. Every time I need to play, grab the right controller, plug it in, go. When I'm done, unplug it, put it away. And that is about as organized as I can think to make an 80s video game system work. They're fun, they're worth it, and as long as you're careful not to let it overrun your bedroom or your rec room or wherever you've got it, it doesn't have to be an ugly albatross of insanity. So I know not everybody out there loves 80s video games, but everybody out there has some kind of ugly albatross of insanity in their lives. I'm not sure if the Trones box is the thing for you, but hopefully my little struggle here helped inspire you to figure something out for yourself. If it did, please feel free to like or subscribe. And even if you don't, please feel free to leave a comment. Like I say every week, comments help me make the channel better, and that's what I'm after. Okay, happy organizing everybody. I'll see you next week.